Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Phil Switch. I'm Phil Carute, and I'm joined by my fearless co-host, Brock Tamarino. The Phil Switch podcast is brought to you by Sal's Tire Caps. Sal's Tire Caps. Your daddy don't dance, and your mama don't rock and roll, but they both use Sal's Tire Caps. Brock, another week, and I'm going to be honest with you, Brock. I feel drawn to do another episode about Twitter after the whole Elon Musk takeover. Then this past weekend, Elon Musk reinstated or unbanned various Twitter accounts. I'm not going to go into all that, but caused quite the controversy, turmoil, a lot of tears, and saw a lot of arguments on Twitter. I forgot how, what's the word, dumb social media arguments were, but a lot of arguments on social media. People just bickering with each other. So,
arguments. So when you say arguments, you mean like people are actually like arguing with each other through like social media and stuff.
Yeah. So, somebody will post something, like they'll say something on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, kind of to an extent, but Instagram is more picture based. And they'll post these, whatever their feelings or whatever about something, and then somebody else will comment on it. And if the person disagrees with that other person, then there's typically some type of argument or social media confrontation, so to speak.
So people. So let me get this straight. People go on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and then they just start arguing with each other.
You're right.
So why wouldn't you just go on there and post something like anything, like the sky is blue? And if some knucklehead comes up and says, well, actually, the sky is this color, why wouldn't you just tell that guy to go pound sand or just ignore him?
I guess if you do that, then it takes, the fun away from social media. A lot of people find it very fun to just argue with strangers.
Well, that's kind of my point. You're just arguing with strangers, right? I mean, for the most part, maybe you do know some of these people, but for the most part, you don't even know who you're arguing with, right? You're just arguing with some random person that decided, oh, I don't like how you feel about that, or I don't like what you said about that, so now I'm going to say something to you, and then you say something back to him. I mean, like, what's the point of that?
As far as I can tell, there's no real point to it. Like, so for instance, on my Twitter account, I got in an argument with somebody years ago now, and it was like you pointed out, very dumb. But what happened was, as people might know, I played drums. Well, anyway, this popular drummer had like a signature drumstick. So it was like their drumstick that they helped and collaborated with a drumstick manufacturer. He put it out, and I happened to I think I bought like one pair just to try them out because of I could get into the whole thing, but like the weight, balance, and feel and everything else of the stick, I thought that might be a stick that would go well for my playing style. Anyway, so I got a pair of the sticks, tried them out. They were okay. I didn't really like some aspects of them once I got it, but anyway, I thought they were okay. It was still a good stick. It just didn't fit for my playing style. And I think he might have, I forget how exactly it went, but I think he tweeted something about his signature stick, and under it, like, I commented like, hey, I tried those out. They were pretty nice. Like, kind of a compliment to him. Out of nowhere, this other guy gets on there and accuses me of like trying to kiss this like drummer's butt and like suck up to him. It's like, just out of nowhere. Like I said, hey, I tried out your drumsticks. They were nice. And then this guy just like started saying how I was like sucking up to this other drummer. And we got in this whole thing, and he ended up saying that he was smarter than me because he was part of like the Mensa club or group. I've heard of it before, but I couldn't care less about it. And because if you've ever noticed, if you ever talked to somebody that's one of these Mensa members or something, they're like a CrossFitter, you know, or like a vegan. Like they have to tell everyone that they're part of this group. And the people they tell the most are people that couldn't care less. But anyway, so that was the like stupid Twitter argument I had with somebody over a pair of drumsticks. So I don't know if you asked this question, but to answer a question, yes, people on social media will argue about anything. Anything they will argue about. So anyway, in the spirit of that and all the happiness that social media brings us, I was thinking we could have a few callers call in and let us know about any social media arguments that they have gotten into during their time on social media. Is that okay with you, Brock?
Yeah, because I'm kind of curious to hear about all these like dumb arguments that people get on with strangers for no reason. So I'm a little bit curious, and another reason that I'm not on social media.
Right, and I respect that. I probably shouldn't be. I should probably just get off of it and be done. Whenever I take a break from it, like I don't announce it to the world like other people feel like they have to do. But whenever I take a break, if I'm being honest, I don't miss it. So maybe I at some point I should just be done with it. But okay, so our producer has somebody ready to go on the line. Joe, we are talking about arguments on social media, and we're interested to know what kind of arguments our listeners have gotten into on social media.
Yeah, as soon as I flipped the switch here, heard you guys on, I thought to myself, well, I got a doozy. So a couple years back, it was around Halloween time, I was going as Dracula. But I was going as Dracula that was really into space, like an astronomer Dracula. And on Facebook, I had a picture of myself and at a party, and I said, "Off to the Milky Way." So I spelled way. I spelled it instead of W-A-Y. I spelled it V-A-Y, kind of like, Dracula would say it. Off to the Milky Way, thinking I was being pretty funny. A lot of people did that laugh emoji. A couple people did the heart emoji. Some people just liked it, gave it the thumbs up. One guy in particular gave me, I think, the mean face emoji, and then he commented, "That's not how you spell Milky Way." And I replied, I said, "I know, it's part of the, like, it's like I was making a joke, like I was dressed up as Dracula, and so I said Milky Way, and I was explaining it to the guy in my response, and he said, well, now, since you're saying way weirdly with like you're typing it out with an accent, now it feels like you're appropriating." And I said, no, that's not like, okay, that's not what I'm doing. I'm like, it's like a joke. It's like a joke, like a Halloween joke. And then he's like, "Oh, so you think Halloween's just a joke?" And I was like, well, Halloween, the reason, okay, so I said the reason that I made the joke was because I'm dressed up like Dracula, for Christ's sakes, and I'm an astronomer or whatever Dracula. So it's like I said it like I would say, I said Milky Way because like I thought it'd be funny, like that's how Dracula would say it. And he's like, "No, I understand. You think it's all a joke." And I was like, yes, guilty. That's the whole point. And he's like, "But you're like appropriating and you're making fun of Hallows Eve." And I said, no. What I'm like in the picture, I said, "Sir, in the picture, you can clearly see I'm like at a Halloween party. Like I'm Dracula. There's a Frankenstein back there for who knows how long." like he's not making fun of like science or something, you know, like I'm trying to figure out like where did I go wrong? Where did I veer? And he said, well, it doesn't matter because you're appropriating. And I think, I'd be honest with you, I think he called me he called me some kind of bigot or something like that. And I said, whoa, hit the brakes there, sir. And then he said, well, don't explain things to me. And I said, well, I'm not trying. Good Lord, I'm not trying to explain anything to you, sir. Like okay. So I had the costume. Like I bought the costume as Dracula, and of course the face paint I had to buy separate because the face paint didn't come with a costume. It came with like the cape and like a white dress type of shirt thing, and I think like the fangs. But I had to like buy the white paint for my face and the red paint to show like the blood and stuff, which he was also offended by because he said, "Well, you're making vampires look like complete slobs. Vampires don't like." He said it's a very He said it's a very common misconception that vampires, when they bite people, they just let the blood go all over their face. And I said, well, sir, I took a minute, and my friends were like, why do you keep replying to this guy? I said, well, I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to make some sense of this. I'm trying to explain to him that I'm not like this bad person. And they're like, do you know this guy? I said, well, of course I don't know him. And they're like, then why are you wasting your time with him? I said, well, because I don't want him to think I'm a bad guy. Here's the thing, like I'm not a bad guy. I'm just like, well, I mean, for that night I was a bad guy because Dracula's kind of a bad guy, which I actually mentioned, and that made him mad because he's like, well, Dracula's not a villain. He said Dracula lived in his like own space and people attacked him at his house. And I was like, I said, but Dracula's known to be a bad guy. And then he said, that's the whole problem with like modern literature is like it's completely misinterpreted. And like he asked me if I've ever actually read a book. And I said, well, of course I read a book. And I'm like an adult. I've read a couple books here. And he said, like, do you even know the backstory behind Dracula? I said, well, I said, I saw the movies. And then he said he had nothing else to say to me and he blocked me.
See, I would have told that as soon as the guy came in and said, you spelled Milky Way the wrong way, I would have said, that's great, go pound sand. And then when he commented back, I would have said nothing to him.
Yeah, that's what my friend said I should have done. They said that I should have not even replied to him. I mean, as soon as he said, yeah, you spelled milk. They said, as soon as he said you spelled Milky Way the wrong way, I should have just said, oh, it was a joke. And then just left it at that.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with your friends that you should have left it at that. But all of us know that if you would have said it's just a joke and left it at that, he was still going to comment back. There was no way that he wasn't going to comment back to you, no matter what you said.
Right. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have posted it.
What do you mean in retrospect you probably shouldn't have posted it? It's okay, so social media, like that's your account, so you can put on there whatever you want. You know, that's like what you're saying. I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting a little frustrated here. So it's your account, so you can put on whatever you want. And guess what? If somebody's offended, they can go away. You know, like if I'm playing music at my house and somebody doesn't like it, and they walk in my house and they're like, oh, I don't like this music, I would be like, oh, cool, leave.
Right, Brock. Right. But social media is not that simple.
Why is it not that simple?
Well, because you have a number of factors, really. I mean, you have the algorithm, for one. You have moderators or people that are checking to see what everybody's saying. You have the person that like owns the social media. I heard you guys talking like how Elon Musk bought Twitter. So like technically it's a private business. So he can kind of say, if he wanted, he could say, well, you can't say this, you can't say that. I'm kicking you out. I'm kicking you because it's his business. But people don't look at it that way. They look at it like, oh, well, it's here. It's on the internet. So I should be able to do whatever I want with it. And that's not really how it works. But anyway, but there's a whole host of things, Brock.
Yeah, one more reason I am not on social media. So I'll just leave it there. Joe, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm sorry about your whole Halloween Dracula thing. I think the joke was kind of funny, if I do say so myself. I think you were being humorous. So anyway, Joe, thank you. It looks like we've got Paulie. Paulie, you were on the Phil switch to talk about some type of argument you had with some knucklehead on social media. So go ahead.
Yeah, guys. So I'm on social media, right? I'm posting on social media. I had a good friend of mine passed away last year, and his name was Jimmy, and I posted a picture of me and Jimmy standing side by side. My arm was over his, right, and his arm was over me, and I said prayers up to my good pal Jimmy. He was the strongest guy I ever knew. Right? I said he was the strongest guy I ever knew. And some guy took offense to that. He said, have you heard of this Magnuson guy? And I said, who's he? I don't know who this guy is. I don't know anything about. He went on talking about some kind of strongman competition or something. I was like, yeah, no, Jimmy was my best friend, man, and he stood with me through everything, right? And so I'm sitting here telling this guy, I said, hey, listen, if I ever needed somebody to back me up in a hurricane, I'm going to Jimmy. Jimmy would have picked me up. If I would have been stuck in a car in a hurricane, Jimmy wouldn't have picked me up. He would have picked up the car. We would have been walking out of there. The guy said, that's impossible. I said, you don't know Jimmy. He said, you don't know Magnuson. I said, it sounds like you got a problem. He said, I do got a problem. And I said, well, it sounds like you better take care of it. And he said, I'm about to take care of it. And I said, where are you? And he said, that ain't none of your business.
So, did you know this guy?
Yeah, me and Jimmy were best friends.
No. Did you know the guy you were arguing with?
No, I don't know who he was. I think his name was, I forget what his name was, Kneecaps Jose or something like that.
So why were you arguing with him about your, I don't
Brock, it's like I talked to you about earlier, social media just pulls you in, right? Like Al Pacino in The Godfather, whatever. I'll be honest, I don't know. I didn't see all the movies. But anyway, they pull him back in. That's kind of like what social media is. Except you really have no familial ties there. So I guess maybe that argument's not great. But anyway, you don't want to look weak to a stranger that you're never going to meet face to face.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, so anyway, this guy and I go back and forth. I say, well, where are you? He says, none of your business. And I'm like, it's going to become my business. He's like, oh, no, it ain't. I said, yeah, it is. He said, no, I don't think it's going to be. I said, listen, where you at? And he said, I live in Antarctica.
So did you leave it there?
No, then I said to him, I said, you better be glad you're in Antarctica.
And then that was it?
No. He said, why should I be glad I'm in Antarctica? And I said, because you would have something coming your way.
And I'm guessing that's still not it.
No, because then he said, what's going to come my way? I said, it's going to be me. I'm going to come at you like a hurricane that Jimmy ain't going to be able to save you from. And then he made some kind of vulgar comment about Jimmy. And my fiance said, you best to let this go, Paulie.
And did you let it go there, Paulie?
No, I sent him a couple DMs.
Okay.
What? You sent him what? What's a DM?
It's a direct message. So after he commented on my post, which is public, then I went and direct messaged him, which is kind of like an email or something, Phil?
Yeah, it's kind of like an email or like a text, it's just basically it was just between Paulie and this guy that lives in Antarctica or whatever.
Yeah, so I sent him a DM and we went back and forth there for probably 3 or 4 days then.
So this guy comments on your public post or whatever, and then you guys sit here and go back and forth about nonsense. And then after that, you just start texting him or something.
Correct, sir.
Okay. Again, I still don't understand all this. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, it makes no sense to me either, Brock. but once again, I stay with it. So I don't know if I'm smarter or dumber for that. And I think I do know, but I don't want to face that reality. So anyway, Paulie, thank you for calling into the Phil Switch. We are going to take one more caller. We have time for one more caller. Gil, you're on the Phil Switch. Tell us about some argument you had on social media. Just whatever argument you want to tell us about that might have went good, might have went bad. Fill us in, Gil.
Okay, guys. So here I was on Twitter. I call it Twitter to be funny. My friends, when they say, "Have you gotten Twitter yet?" I said, "I don't have Twitter, but I have Tweeter," and it gives us all just a splendid laugh. Anyways, I was sharing pictures of a meal I was partaking in at Disney World, and I captioned the picture, which was a lovely picture. We were just outside the Princess Castle, and we'd actually got reservations, and then they got canceled, but they said we could still have the meal, but we'd have to eat outside the castle. So I said, that's fine. That's fine. It's a nice day. It's a blistering 90 degrees in Florida. And we just got the biggest laugh out of that because I said blistering. But anyway, we take our meal outside. I snap a picture of it. In the caption, I put, "The best meal this side of the Mississippi." Well, some guy took offense to that. And he said, "I've been to that side of the Mississippi, and there's actually a restaurant not far from where you're at that serves the best biscuits and gravy." And I said, sir, I said, "Listen, this is the best meal I've had this side of the Mississippi. And even if it wasn't, I was going to use that caption anyway because it was kind of a little silly and fun." And the guy said, no, you said the best meal. And I'm telling you right now, this restaurant very close to where you're at serves the best biscuit and gravy. And that would be the best meal this side of the Mississippi." And I said, "Sir, I was making a joke. We're outside of this beautiful Disney World castle. I'm having this meal. The sun, it's making it so bad that I'm sweating through my underdrawers, right through my shorts. When I get up, there's definitely going to be a swamp booty stain right on the seat." And I said, "I'm just sitting here talking about the meal I'm having, which right now seems like the best meal this side of the Mississippi." And he said, "How dare you say that you got swamp booty while talking about the Mississippi?" And I said, "What, sir?" I said, "What?" And I did an emoji like the confused sign, like with your hands. And the guy said, "Don't you use your emojis around here. I'm not interested in it. You're just trying to make a mockery of the biscuits and gravy I've come to love." And I said, sir. And then one of my close friends said, "What are you doing, Gil?" And I said, "Well, this guy's having an argument with me." And he said, "Well, are you worried about your food getting cold?" I said, "Why would I be worried about my food getting cold? It's 90 degrees out here. I've got swamp booty. It's going down my legs. I think my food's going to stay warm, just like if it were in an oven." And my friend said, "Well, actually, it's not as hot as in an oven." And I said, "Tell my swamp booty that." And so my friend left me to my own devices for about the next 30 minutes as I was trying to explain to this gentleman that I was just making kind of a funny laugh and enjoying my meal, and I was on that side of the Mississippi. And we went on, and I don't remember how I do remember how it ended. He sent me a picture of his biscuits and gravy from the restaurant that he had saved. He said he had about 5 or 6 of these pictures, and we've become, to be honest, it's kind of a happy ending. We've become very close friends online. We message each other all the time. We'll go back and forth and banter about who has the better food picture, who has a better dog picture, things of this nature, which, as you guys remember, I have my new golden poodle doodle. Love him to pieces. And no, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, he's going to be so mad. He gets so mad when I call him a golden doodle poodle. It was a Labradoodle poodle. Oh, jeez. I get confused because he doesn't look like a Labradoodle poodle. He looks like a golden doodle poodle. And I was actually talking to the guy that I purchased him from. I acquired him from. I don't like saying purchase because he's a family member. And he said it might actually be a golden poodle doodle. And I said, is it? And he said, let's just say it's not. And I said, okay. So I guess I could interchange it. But anyway, me and this fellow with the biscuits and gravy, I call him Gravy. And he calls me Queen Castle. He calls me Queen Castle because that's a castle we were outside of. And so we have just great conversations now about food and pictures and all kinds of nonsense. So that's that's a good story with the good ending, a happy ending. That's good. Okay, Phil, if I'm being honest with you, I think I've kind of my tank's kind of empty. I'll say that on this whole social media argument thing. So, Gil, thank you for joining us, and maybe we'll talk to you soon. I pray to God this is the last episode we do about social media or Twitter. So, yeah.
Yeah, very, very well could be. Maybe something very interesting will come up with social media or Twitter in the coming weeks here, Brock. So, don't get too excited yet. Anyway, thank you to our listeners that called in and shared their stories with us. Thank you all, as always, for listening to the Phil Switch podcast. Don't forget to check us out, or check me out, not check us out. Check me out on the other podcast I do, First and 15th, with Kaplowitz Media. If you would like to contact us, you can do that by reaching out to us through email at thephilswitch@gmail.com. Again, that's thephilswitch@gmail.com. We wish you all a great week, and we'll talk to you soon here at the Phil Switch.